Welcome to Tone Talk. How's everybody doing today? This is Attorney Antonio Moore discussing today the Inflation Reduction Act and talking about it in context of the black vote. Because right now, today, a lot of people are taking credit for the actions that were driven, that were focused, and that were led by the black vote, both at local and national level elections. And ain't nobody giving black folks no credit. Let's talk about it. So let me give everybody their flowers and say shout out to everybody that's coming in the chat. We're having a productive discussion today. Thank you so much to Sean Williams. I see you in here. I see people coming up. Jose Gonzalez, thank you so much for coming in. So what are we talking about? Everybody this weekend might have been focused on Beyonce album with Khalees, or focused on Kyrie Irving and the Lakers. But the reality is the most important thing you should have been focused on, particularly those of you guys with full families, is this Inflation Reduction Act, because there's so much in there and there's so much being said, but what's not being talked about is the black vote and what should have happened. And part of what you see is a reflection of the immaturity of the black political, I guess you could say, body right now. In many ways, you guys think voting is just about voting day on National Election Day when the president's being elected. And it's so much more to politics than that. And we're seeing that political immaturity play out in who they're giving credit to, when in the end, it really comes out of your vote. So I want to zoom in so y'all can see this. This is a list. The biggest winners of the tax and energy bill. Y'all see this list? I don't see black folks on this. One, because maybe we're not the biggest winners because we didn't actually create the climate crisis. We don't own nearly nothing. They're giving Senator Manchin credit, and we'll talk about it in a second. But his family owns coal mines or coal companies. So you create the climate crisis, make millions of dollars off of it, and then get credit for playing the last little bit of cleaning it up. Somebody busts a window down, all the glass is broken inside the house. You go to clean it up, sweep it up, put it in the garage, in the trash can. You put the bag outside, and then the person that kicked the window in come and take the trash bag to the trash can. They be like, man, you really fixed those windows up. Hold on. Ain't that Manchin? So let's look at the credit. Who gets the credit for this? We got the biggest winners of the tax and energy bill: Biden and Schumer, the wealthy, which means the white, private equity, Manchin and Sinema, that's the senator out of Arizona, electric car makers, renewable energy, oil companies, Medicare, Obamacare enrollees. Those people that forgot, go back and look at Yvette Carnell's shows talking about how we're shut out of Obamacare because it's so expensive all throughout the South. Deficit hawks and the IRS. They're about to increase the IRS. I wonder who they're going to audit. Talk about it. So we here to talk about what just happened, the switch, the three-card Monty, where the black vote gave the Democrats the presidency and the Senate, but the black vote isn't the biggest winners on the big legislation. Can I talk today? Where is ADOS America? Black America is not listed because this isn't our win, despite our vote sitting at the center of why it happened. This is Tone Talks. Please subscribe, press the like, share this, because we're about to get right into it. 310-388-3499 to call in. I want to hear from you. Let's have this discussion, because I don't see nobody having this. Not the NAACP, not other black YouTubers. Nobody's talking about this. It's like this bill didn't even happen this weekend. But you know what did happen? I'll show you. Let me show you what we're talking about. Hold on. Let me show you what we are talking about as black folk. I keep on flipping it. Let me show you what we talking about this. Beyonce removes the interpolation of Khalees's milkshake from her track Energy. We talking about that. We talking about Beyonce's album. We talking about Kyrie just goes to the Lakers already We can't wait to see Kyrie. Y'all can't even feed yourselves. Your cars are from 2008. How many of y'all out there buying 2008 S-Classes for $20,000 today so that you can drive around and look like you got that bread? They ain't got no new cars on the lot. You don't want no Camry. Talk about it. Thank you so much, Cheerful Giver. Whoo-wee. 2008 S-Class, 40,000 miles, $20,000. See, it used to be, I was just telling somebody this. It used to be like if you go back into 2000 and you think about 1983 S-Class, it used to look real old. They done made it so they all look new. So we don't know the difference. Serena Williams, the owner of 23 Grand Slam single titles, announced her plan to retire from tennis. We talking about this? She ain't really announced it. She kind of announced it. Why do I care? Why do I care? Why do I care when this is going on? So why do I care about Serena Williams when this is going on? When I ain't getting credit for the vote. Reparations and a black agenda. Hashtag ADOS. This is why the down ballot strategy was key to gain actual commitment on steps towards both items. Reparations and a black agenda meeting. Now they have accomplished a supposedly impossible task with climate reform while telling us ADOS reparations that are owed are unreasonable. Under it, I have the breakdown of the vote in the presidency by race. When you look, white America voted for, and let's zoom in because I don't want nobody missing it. I don't want nobody missing it. White America voted for Trump, that's the red just on you, at a 58% rate. Huh. As I understand it, Manchin is a mid flip-flopper, back and forth between the parties. Black America voted for Biden at an 87% rate. And without that black vote at the center, at the base of his party, at the base of his campaign, at the base of his candidacy, he ain't president. If it was up to white folks, Trump would be president today. Let's go back to the list. Biden and Schumer, private equity. We not winners and we not listed. Now, I want everybody to slow everything down and get a timeline because I think we need to do a timeline on this thing. Come on. Everybody keeps saying, well, you guys support the Dems and down ballot Democrat wouldn't be a strategy if you were blindly supporting the Democrats. That's just basic political awareness. To not understand that, maybe you should have went to college and got a political science degree. Well, you guys just go with the Republicans. Wait, we're saying down ballot Democrats, so that's not really a strategy you propose if you're supporting the Republicans. So maybe my imagination is bigger than your mind can actually fathom. Maybe I'm reaching beyond where you understand, and you should just be quiet and listen. But what I will say is it awoken a lot of folks. It led to a whole set of people trying to figure out what we was talking about at the top of this country. But also what I want to make clear is timelines, because timelines are important. Well, then why it didn't work? We didn't get to implement it. We told you the strategy, November 2019 conference, October 2019 to be specific. Then COVID happened. And you know what COVID did? It made it so there was no small, intimate meetings like you saw with Hillary Clinton, with the BLM young lady, where you could actually pressure people with a down ballot. And we also didn't have a 2020 conference. So while people followed the strategy, we talked about the strategy in shows, the core implementation of it didn't happen due to COVID. And you still want to blame us because you don't understand basics while you feed a family. Jesus. How you don't understand basics? You out here talking to us, but you don't know what you're talking about. COVID happened. You had to be wild to do a conference while people might catch COVID without any kind of vaccine protections. Let alone even with that. So there are timelines, but at the end of it all, we still come back to what actually ended up happening, and that is here. And what it shows is that Biden is president because of Black America. Hmm. Hmm. So we got Biden being president because of Black America, but Black America ain't getting no credit when the big legislation passes. But at the same time, our vote is the only reason the legislation passed. Here's what's in the Inflation Reduction Act. The sweeping health and climate bill passed Sunday. 310-388-3499. I want to hear from you, but I want to share some of the things that's in this bill before I go into the numbers. Because we talking today. We got people all across this country. How many people know what's in this bill, or they just forgot about it because they talking about this over here? Serena retirement, they know about that, and they know about Beyonce and they Khalees and all the years that they talked or didn't talk, and being married to who they married to, Nas and Jay-Z, and they know about when the feature is gonna come out, and they know about Kyrie Irving and the Cleveland, and then what happened with him and LeBron personally on the phone, but they don't know about these numbers. They got a full family. Can we talk? Y'all out here playing house? Here's what's in the Inflation Reduction Act, the sweeping health and climate bill passed Sunday. The Senate passed Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act on a party line vote Sunday afternoon, delivering the long-awaited centerpiece to President Biden's agenda. So the centerpiece of his agenda is this climate bill. But the centerpiece of his base for voting is Black vote. The winners from this climate bill don't include Black folks. Please support the channel. Thank you so much, James Green. And if you add a question, I'll try to read it out to everyone in the super chat if you don't want to call in. So this is the centerpiece. And I'll talk to you in a second about what happens because of your political immaturity at the home level. I'll talk to you about the consequence of not having a fully captured Black senator, and Warnock is not that guy. And I'll tell you why in a second. So they need you to get elected on National Presidential Election Day, but your senator is not a swing senator when it comes to legislation. So you have no demands, but your vote is already exchanged. That's like paying for your food early, and then when the food comes, you say, "I'll wait, make sure everybody else eat first." Y'all got full families and doing things that way? Full families. 2 kids, 3 kids, and they go into college, you don't have $1 saved. You got student loans, and you doing voting this way, and you think this is going to work out for you. Democrats rallied behind the $430 billion climate, healthcare, and tax overhaul after Senator Majority Leader Charles Schumer reached a last-minute deal with Joe Manchin, who had held up previous proposals. The House is expected to approve the legislation on Friday and send it to Biden's desk. Environment, energy, and climate. Businesses will get incentives for deployment of lower carbon and carbon-free energy sources. Tax credits are extended for energy production and investment in technologies, including wind, solar, and geothermal energies. Who you think will get that money? So they don't got money for reparations, but they got money to give businesses to make them do what they should naturally be doing. You're paying them to do what they naturally should be doing. But they don't have no money for reparations. So they basically paying these businesses with your reparations. Can we think of it that way? Is it fair? Thank you so much for the donation, OCC bet. Or I should say OSCYSBT. Tax credits will be extended for additional technologies and energy sources, including nuclear energy, hydrogen energy coming from clean sources, biofuels, and technology. We ain't in none of that. I mind you to remember that somewhere around 90% of Black businesses don't even have an employee, which means they're just undercapitalized largely. Largely is an understatement, nearly in total. But black business in America largely just doesn't exist. I'm talking about legitimate businesses with 1,000 employees, a small business, 500 employees, paying payroll and everything else, not contractors, employees. So now they're giving money to this mass industry where white people largely own all the business and painting it as though it's a win for everybody because there's going to be jobs created that might be so technical we don't get access to them, but regardless, jobs created, and we don't own none of the businesses. But we're not talking about reparations, even though we elected Biden and we gave the Dems the Senate in Georgia. Can we talk about it? I want to hear from y'all. Let me know what y'all think. Is it? I mean, maybe you don't know what's in the bill and you ain't talked about the bill and you just feeding your family, so you focused on that. But you know about Beyonce and that album. And you know about Khalees and her problem. So getting back to it, consumers and businesses get incentives to make cleaner energy choices. Tax credits are extended for residential clean energy expenses, including rooftop solar, heat pumps, and small wind energy systems. White people homes, they're going to win with them homes. Tax credits up to $7,500 are offered to consumers who buy electric vehicles. You know who buying electric vehicles? People with money. You know who got money? White folks. Now, I'm not saying no black folks have electric vehicles, but I think that the Tesla Model Y, it went from $49,000 to $63,000 in less than a year. Who's buying that vehicle? Who has a house to put an electric system inside of? Just saying. This is all ways to put money back in white folks' pocket, but it all sits on the back of the black vote. But they're not really concerned with black folks. They're not talking about our issues. But in the end, white folks would have elected Trump, 58%. Let's finish what's in this bill. How many of y'all, raise your hands if you guys have read what's in this bill. And I respect it if you have. But if you haven't, I want to know. Just raise your hand. I was too busy. And I'd love to know what you was busy with. 310-388-3499 is the call in. I'd love to know if it was you was watching the NFL preseason or Deshaun Watson's case, or what is so important that you don't know what's in this bill, while you done filled your belly up with a lot of American family that requires you to know what's in this bill. Coy said he don't know what's in this bill. Shout out, I ain't gonna get everybody. Look, new programs boost investment in climate. A new program aims to reduce emissions of the planet-warming gas methane from oil and gas by both providing grants and loans to help companies rein in their emissions and levying fees on producers with excess methane emissions. Costs increase for fossil fuel production on public lands. Communities that face high pollution burden get relief. Thank you so much to Uncle Tones. Thank you so much for the donation. Stanley said he was working. Healthcare, Medicare can negotiate lower prices. Drug costs can be capped, but largely only for Medicare. People enrolled in an ACA plan can get an extension on premium assistance. Taxes, large corporations will pay for climate and health measures within the bill. The IRS gets a funding boost. Stock buybacks will get an additional tax. Okay, but the bulk of this is about this climate. Let's talk about it today, because I'm looking at this thing and I want to dig into it. But to dig into it, I got to look at the numbers. Let's talk about some of these numbers that we see on screen. Inflation Reduction Act summary. Energy and climate is $386 billion of this bill. Clean electricity tax credits, $161 billion. Air pollution, hazardous materials, transportation, and infrastructure, $40 billion. Individual clean energy incentives, $37 billion. Clean manufacturing tax credits, $37 billion. These are credits, tax credits, and also real money. When you start coming up here to this this 40 billion here, that will go to white companies that pick up contracts, or white companies that need to clean up the mess that they created. You're gonna pay them to clean up the mess they created. Building efficiency, electrification, transmission, industrial, DOE grants and loans, $27 billion. So charging companies will get grants and loans at low rates on the back of the black vote, while we don't get no reparations, and ain't nobody saying nothing. Ain't nobody saying nothing. Sri Wali Chin. Can we talk? It's basic. Somebody says it's basically a giveaway to white CEOs. Can we talk about it? Can we bring that up? Or other energy and climate spending, 14 billion. Healthcare, 98 billion. Extension of expanded ACA subsidies. I don't know if that's going to help those folks down there in the deep south. A lot of them can't afford the $400, $500 a month for a single person often under the ACA. Part D redesign, LIS subsidies, vaccine coverage. If you look, these numbers ain't as big as the other numbers. The real numbers in this bill is up here at the climate. Now you have some numbers down here with the IRS enforcement funding, 124 billion. The question becomes, who they gonna be enforcing against? So they're gonna get more IRS people, but are they gonna come after black folk? Low-level filers, 30,000, 40,000, with errors in their filing because of the pandemic and having to take in that money in all kind of ways and not really knowing altogether how to report that. Who are they coming after, North? But we talking about Serena Williams retiring, right? Serena Williams, the owner of 23 Grand Slam single titles, announced her plan to retire from tennis. We talking about that. 310-388-3499. Let's talk about it. I know this is a topic that's kind of deep to digest, but I want to hear you digest it. I know that everybody hasn't even thought about this, even though this is the biggest thing that happened in your country since the election, really. Y'all worried about Trump and Mar-a-Lago. Y'all worried about a single accident in Los Angeles on La Brea and Slauson, but y'all ain't shared nothing about the Inflation Reduction Act. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Tom. This is Cynthia. I'm calling from Montgomery County, Ohio.
All right. Let me ask you something, Cynthia. I want to know if you remember. They didn't know how they was going to get the last senator to be able to pass legislation just like this. So they came down and they begged black folks in Georgia to come out and vote for Warnock. And when you look at it, Warnock, he got like 90% of the black vote. And that's what pushed him over. So from Warnock getting 90% of the black, over 90% of the black vote, and Biden getting nearly 90% of the black vote, there is no Senate or White House without black folks, but black unemployment is nearly 100% higher than white folks. But we're not talking about that in this bill. This bill is going to be about climate fixes for a thing they say all of us made, but black folks don't own no businesses. Give me your thoughts.
You know what? And I'll be quite honest with you. I did not know about all the specifics of the climate bill until I read a political article that you put in Twitter, and I was very surprised. The first thing I thought about is, where is ADOS in this? Don't own no business. Our private businesses are less than $400 billion. And then I read about Joe Manchin's family having the alternative energy company where he took the spud from the coal and selling that spud back.
Wait, hold on. You jumping ahead. You jumping ahead on the show. Hold on. She done brought it up. She done brought it up. So we gonna talk about it. I shared this earlier in Twitter to give you context, because what's happening right now is I'm gonna connect the dots now. This is the heartbeat of what I wanted to talk about. Effectively, what's happening is Joe Manchin and Sinema out of Arizona are occupying the celebratory position that and also the swing position that the black vote should occupy. So it is the black vote that led to this climate bill, but that should have been able to negotiate through a captured senator like Warnock to get reparations and or a black agenda as a primary item in exchange. But we got taken out, and they put Manchin there in place, and he gets to do all kinds of things after he's the one that caused the climate problems, both individually and also legislatively. You guys have to understand there is a consequence for not being able to do basic politics, and you guys aren't doing that. Now, give me your take.
Well, you know what? I'm pissed off. Number one, because Joe Manchin is a second-generation Italian immigrant. His family probably got all. Matter of fact, his family did get all the New Deal benefits, and that New Deal benefits is just coming on down through his son and his accrued advantages, and that's pissing me off. And what really pisses me off is that some of our people are too preoccupied with whatever it is, understand that we are a bottom half, and unless we get reparations and a transformative agenda, we're going to continue to bubble gum on somebody's shoe. So I'm going to get off this phone.
Woo! She dropped it, got on the phone and dropped it, and brought me to the point in the show where I explained to you about Joe Manchin. She was talking about this. These maneuvers occurred as Manchin's family business, Energy Systems Inc., continued to sell waste coal to power plant in his home state named Granttown. He earned $500,000 from Energy Systems last year, according to Senate financial disclosure reports. How Manchin used politics to protect his family coal company. How Manchin used politics to protect his family coal company. So let's go back to it and explain what I said again with the caller on the line. The black vote, not only in this election, but in elections dating back 40 to 50 years, have supported the Democrats and led to, in this particular election, the Democrats having Warnock as the tiebreaker of sorts. But in addition, without the black vote, Joe Biden doesn't become president. But now, when it's time to do big legislation, the person that occupies the swing position and also that catches the windfall for the election of the Democrats is not the black vote or black population. It is Manchin and Sinema, who didn't support this regime. The reason that is happening is because they occupy a position where they have a capture. They are the senators who swing based on legislation, but we don't have that because that's not. He just already. We know what he's gonna do because he didn't come from us. They created him. People will be like, "Well, he passed at Ebony." No, we didn't create him and elect him as an alderman. We didn't elect him as a local councilman. We didn't elect him as a mayor. No, they told us that he's gonna take over for 2 years, and then they pasted this and made his little poster and everything else, health, job, justice, and put him with Ossoff, and then that's it. That's not our candidate. So he don't vote on our lines. He don't swing based on black needs. But when he needed to get elected, he only got elected because of the black vote. You can't do it this way. You can't afford your family if when the big legislation from your vote comes out, this man wins. ChargePoint Inc. As positive as the tax and climate bill might be generally, how many black companies will get contracts from expanding an EV infrastructure that leads to a burst in black ownership that matches our democratic voting input? How many ADOS EV companies even exist without the needed wealth? Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Tom.
Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? What you think about the topic?
My name is Oyera. I am actually calling from work.
Oh, thank
you. Yeah, I tune into you all the time, so I just have to give my perspective. You know what? I honestly feel like we not bringing our black politicians to heel. They know that they got the formula. They got the symbolism. They got the false hope. They got the decadent veil. They have been repackaging it and selling it to us for years, to the point where we don't even hold them accountable. Raphael Warnock, man from the South. I mean, he's a Bible toting. He leads with the formula. But we don't require nothing of these politicians. Maxine Waters, her district been trashed for years. We still calling her auntie. So I know that this is a layer. It has so many layers, but when we do have ADOS in there, we don't make them accountable. We don't hold them accountable.
But it's set up in a way where you don't have a black politician. He was not created. I just explained it. He was not created by growing from an incubator of black politics to becoming, like when you look at like Marion Barry, when you look at black politicians like Jesse Jackson that came out of a civil rights movement, he just was pushed on you and already went from pastor to taking over 2 years of a seat and was just chosen by the Democratic establishment. You guys have largely not created a black like politician. So when you talk about these politicians that, yeah, they are African American or black, I think of them in the context of ADOS when I talk about lineage, but in context of their actual politics, they're far from it. They're more just general Democratic like politicians. So if you so busy focused on Beyonce and Khalees, and you watching whether Kim Kardashians with Pete Davidson, and you tell me that you focus with your kids, but when I come over there, you ain't doing no homework with them. They playing video games and you in the room talking to your friend. In the end, you got the politics you deserve because you didn't do no politics. And so like now then you get to the other side and you say, well, Warnock is, because he's not a captured black politician. He is really a candidate that was sat there to vote a certain way, and that's what he's doing. So we don't, just like we don't exist in business, we don't exist in politics, but we look like we do. And so the question becomes, what is the consequence for that? What are we going to do about that element? Because what's supposed to happen, let me say it again. So Manchin was going to withhold, I'll talk about this in a second after I talk about his family. He was going to withhold his vote as was Sinema. But what they did was they got gives on fossil fuels on public lands or something of the sort. And I'll talk about that in a second. But that's our negotiation that's supposed to happen right there. So what's supposed to happen is we're supposed to have a captured black senator that pulls our vote past the national election into the midterms, but also into every legislative process. So that what happens is when the process happens, yeah, we want that to happen. But for us to support it with our vote and not just abstain or whatever else, you're going to have to give us a black agenda item. But we don't have no politicians like that. And so now that you guys have full families, I don't have a full family. I don't know how you're going to feed your family if you don't have that. You don't have money. You don't have money. You don't have a captured politician. You're not going to get inheritance. We playing house out here? Because and that, you know, that's for everybody to explain. I said it in the prior show maybe 2 weeks ago. Out here with no life insurance, oftentimes no health insurance, no savings, but you got your kid in soccer practice. What we doing? We playing with the outside.
But when you break it down like that, Tom, have we ever had a black politician?
Yeah, I would argue much better than this, at least. When you come out of Reconstruction and you see black politicians coming out of slavery and building small communities, this is something else where they masterminded, just like they masterminded with that old Mercedes that don't look old no more, running around the ghetto with an old Mercedes out here like you flossing. It's old, 20 years old. So I would argue to you, there were moments in time we were much better positioned with black politics than we are now. What I would say is this isn't altogether our creation, and I learned that through ADOS. I talked about COVID first. What they say? I didn't talk about COVID. I mean, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to tell you if Serena's retirement is more important than dealing with what I'm proposing with that kind of disenfranchisement. We can't move, and then without no money, I go to do what, say, Dr. King and Malcolm X did on a different scale with internet, and then they just make up what I said. Well, y'all supposed to get mad, and I don't see that anger. But you don't understand the consequence, meaning I'm not just saying you need reparations. I'm saying you need the tools just to be who you are today. You don't have them. What do I mean? You will complain about unaffordable housing tomorrow. I'm telling you yesterday that you won't be able to afford tomorrow. So I'm looking forward when I say reparations, say that you don't have the wealth, meaning coming back to it. You don't have life insurance. You out here as a male with a family. You done already told them don't take the vaccine, however ignorant that was. And you don't have no life insurance, and you got a family with 2 kids. No, you got to have $1 million policy, bro. Nobody told you? Nope. No idea. You know, forget life insurance, health insurance. Well, the babies is covered. What about you, though? You the breadwinner. What about inheritance? Oh, none of that is coming. And you going to be able to afford to be here? So I come back to, well, then you got to get your politics straight. And so what I'm almost explaining is, I believe what has happened here is that this man here is occupying our seat at the table. Manchin is sitting in a position like he's sitting in the catbird seat, like he is the black vote that elected Biden and gave them the Senate, when all he did was just do a swing vote at the end, and he's the one that kicked the windows in. That's all I wanted to say, man. Give me your last take on it.
I just want to say I agree with you, Tone, and I am enraged. I have to always filter myself when I share this information and try to communicate it to my people to where they can receive it. Just thank you for what you and Yvette do. I'm going to always listen. I'm going to play the politics, and I'm going to 10 toes down. Thank you, Tom.
No, thank you. Thank you for calling, man. Because, I mean, we all out here trying to learn together. But I just wanted to frame this because not a lot of people knew how Manchin used politics to protect his family coal company. As governor, Joe Manchin supported an unusual detail in a clean energy bill that was moving through the West Virginia legislature in 2009. The provision classified waste coal as an alternative energy, waste coal. The muddy mix of discarded coal and rocks is one of the most carbon-intensive fuels in America, and Manchin's family business stood to benefit financially when it was reclassified as something akin to solar, wind, and hydropower. Selling the scrap coal has earned Manchin millions of dollars over 3 decades, and he has used his political position to protect the fuel and a single power plant in West Virginia that burns it, from laws and regulations that also threaten his family business. It continues today. Only now, Manchin has enormous influence over federal climate policy. So understand what I'm proposing. We don't have no coal company. I don't have no coal company. You don't have no coal company. He got a coal company. This climate bill is about a number of things, but it's about these coal companies. So now he swing and support kind of doing some stuff to like help fix maybe kind of some of what happened as a result of these companies, and then he get all the credit. But the only reason he can swing is because the base of 50 million black voters supported Joe Biden, giving the Democrats the Senate by a single vote. His opposition in December to a sweeping $1.7 trillion social spending bill known as Build Back Better ruptured one of the most ambitious climate packages in U.S. history. Then last week, Manchin offered what stands to be his final word on the bill. It's dead. He said it was dead at first. As the Build Back Better plan hovered on life support late last year, Manchin used his position as chair of the Energy Natural Resources Committee to remove a clean energy program from the sprawling package. So he's sitting as chair of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee as his family owns a coal company. How many of y'all knew that? Give me the hands in the chat. Y'all, let's go all the way back to the winners. Y'all know about Serena and this album. Y'all love this album cover, and you're going to make sure you get tickets to her concert. Let it be your last. I hope you party your way out. Winners. Manchin, Sinema. Electric car makers. Renewable energy. So he winning twice because he done reclassified the coal waste as renewable energy. So he going to get money there. And then he win as a senator as well. But you losing all the way around. The provision could have accelerated the closure of coal plants. Those maneuvers, let me read it again. As Build Back Better plan hovered on life support late last year, Manchin used his position as chair of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee to remove a clean energy program from the sprawling package. The provision could have accelerated the closure of coal plants. How Manchin used politics to protect his family coal company. Those maneuvers, and this is where this part come in, occurred as Manchin's family business, InterSystems Inc., continued to sell waste coal to a power plant in his home state named Granttown. He earned $500,000 from InterSystems last year, according to Senate Financial Disclosure Report. Manchin has said he has no control over the family coal business, which is run by his son, Joe Manchin IV, and resides in a blind trust. Manchin did not respond to multiple requests for comment. Yet, over the arc of Manchin's political career, he has pushed measures to promote the coal that InterSystem removes from abandoned mines. So getting scrap coal, the last bits. Yet, over the arc of Manchin's political career, he has pushed measures to promote the coal that InterSystem removed from abandoned mines. Nominated officials who helped ensure that the power plant that buys most of that company's coal did not close, and waged political battles against environmental regulations that threaten the same plants. Come on, man. Look at what we're looking at. And this is what we're celebrating for doing climate bills. Why internet leftists are so pissed about Democrats' historic climate bill. By and large, climate activists greeted the Inflation Reduction Act, which passed the Senate on Sunday, as an imperfect but undeniably big victory in the battle against global warming. They are thrilled about the roughly $370 billion it would spend to decarbonize the economy and promote green industries, even though they are frustrated by sections of the bill that will open up more federal lands to oil and gas development. Come on. Thank you so much, Ms. Ford. I'm out here. But some have reacted to the compromise with more fury. The Center for Biological Diversity described those fossil fuel provisions as a climate suicide pact, while Greenpeace called them a slap in the face to the frontline communities, grassroots groups, and activists that made this legislation possible. So they made it possible, not the black vote. On Twitter, a portion of the internet poisoned left has already written off the legislation as a giveaway to oil and gas interests that would do little to help climate. Just telling you. But we go back, black vote in 1688 and 12, Obama 93, 08, Obama 95 for Obama, 04, 88, go back to 2000, 90. Sheesh. And for Biden, let's see what it was. Just to be clear, it was 87, but we not on the list of winners for the big legislation. And we had no positioning to even negotiate, because what we do is some weird politics where we celebrate optics and have these captured people that really didn't come out of us. But you know who do win? Let's talk about it. Let me show you. This man here, ChargePoint. ChargePoint is one of the most innovative companies to have come across, offering a unique service and providing the most open electric vehicle charge network. It was founded that he gonna get them grants. Richard Lowenthal, he gonna get them grants. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, investing winners and losers. Let's read a little bit of this. It may still be a few weeks before President Joe Biden signs it, but it looks like the Inflation Reduction Act is about to become reality. The legislation passed the Senate and now awaits review by the House of Representatives, likely by next week. But the main stumbling blocks have been cleared, making the rest more formality. It remains to be seen whether the Inflation Reduction Act actually reduces inflation. It is, after all, first and foremost, a spending bill. And new government spending tends to be inflationary. Ultimately, Federal Reserve policy, the untangling of the global supply chain, and increased energy production to offset the effects of Russian sanctions will have far more impact on inflation. This is Kiplinger. And again, the article is, let me make sure that everybody knows what we're reading in case they want to read it on their own. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, investing winners and losers. These 7 stocks could benefit the most and least from the Inflation Reduction Act. I want to talk about it. I just want to make sure you guys see. We'll start with the 2 biggest talking points, green investment and Medicare pricing. The bill would plow $369 billion into renewable energy investment, including wind and solar projects, with the goal of reducing carbon emissions by 40% by 2030. So the bill is about reducing carbon emissions, but Manchin has a coal company that made the carbon emissions, but then the bill is actually passed because of that's the only thing we get. So how long are we going to just get voting rights and then like stuff generally to fix other people's mistakes for our vote? But like our reparations is unreasonable. Let me say that again. You are They are giving you voting rights acts for voting, while they give Joe Manchin a pat on the back and millions of dollars and grants and all this for actually having and owning the coal company that created the climate issue. Can I talk about it? The other big news is that Medicare will be able to negotiate drug prices for first time, potentially lowering prescription costs for both patients and taxpayers. Of course, nothing is free. To pay for all this, the bill will levy a 1% tax on all corporate share buybacks and a 15% minimum corporate income tax on any company with more than $1 billion in revenues. It's a lot of white companies that ain't gonna see no tax increase. We find the potential tax on share buybacks to be particularly interesting, says Sonia Jayal, Chief Operating Officer of Houston-based R.A. Robertson Wealth Management. Share buybacks have been a popular way for American companies, particularly tech firms, to reward their shareholders. This may incentivize them to spend less on payouts and more on dividends or debt reduction. So you can go in there and read the stocks if you think you're a stock guru. I know Boyce got y'all. Y'all don't be talking about them as much now. Y'all realize how right I was. But if you're a guru, go in there and talk to them. 310-388-3499. Whew. Yes, sir. Some of them do need to read. They just, well, a lot, we made a non-academic group, which essentially just talks. They don't have a lot of them don't have the academic background. Now, I'm not saying that's all you need, but like really just not to be talking about what they talk about, like politically. In effect, the black vote and its political capital has now been used to take steps to clean up the climate damage largely done by white capitals like Manchin's company, coal company, and companies as they grew themselves to $130 trillion, all while ignoring economic inclusion of black folks through reparative justice. That is the masterstroke that just happened. So you got white folks going from 25 trillion in 89, 2 trillion in 1980 to 130 trillion. Black folks are still nearly nothing. Nearly nothing against 130 trillion is not the same as nearly nothing against 2 trillion, which is a huge gap in and of itself. It is insurmountable in terms of how it will impact your life. You can complain now or later, but you will have to complain. A lot of y'all just gonna complain individually about how rent your high rate your rent is, and how the power keep cutting off, and they don't fix the potholes. I don't really talk that way. That's hustling backwards. So we also have this from Kyrsten Pershik of Northwestern University, Economic Equality Among Families with Children, back in 2016. While it is a bit older now, it shows wealth levels for black folks, even below Hispanics, of 1 cent for families with children. So black families with children have 1 cent on the dollar of white families with children. The income looks a little better, but y'all have no wealth. This is zero. Because it might not even be 1 cent. It might be below that, and they just don't have a measurement. So you have nothing. That's where we at. And I just kind of wanted to do this show to kind of go back and talk about Warnock in the context of not being a truly black captured senator. Talk about Beyonce and this album and how irrelevant it is. Kyrie and the Lakers, and most importantly, who wins from this bill and who's getting credit. Black folks ain't getting credit. Nobody saying nothing. It all came out of the black vote. Ain't nobody said nothing, and they ain't even set it up for you guys to win from the bill. No exchanges. Just a free vote. We give you the Voting Rights Act for voting. Wait, just me? So I get the Voting Rights Act by myself? No, we're going to give all of America the Voting Rights Act for you voting. And then we're going to give other people like real stuff. We're going to give them free college at UCLA. Native Americans got that recently. We're going to give the coal company that Manchin owns a grant. We're going to give the charge plate company that Lowenthal owns a grant. We're going to give those people get real stuff. But you get the right to vote again. I just wanted to come to you, have this discussion. This is Antonio Moore. Please go to tonetalks.org, subscribe or donate, share this video. Thank you so much for tuning in.